Hey Lampworkers, it's Amy from Two Glassy Ladies and Lampwork by Amy on Etsy. Today I'm going to show you how to make my Orchid Garden lentil set, which I make using a beautiful blend of Valcox frit called Martinique. The main base glass that I use for these beads is called Seashell Swirl, which is a Vetrafon glass that it's an odd lot that you can't get it anymore. Sometimes you can find people selling it used. A lot of us do have a bit of a stash of it. I know I've been stashing it up because it's one of my favorite bases. And then I use transparent light emerald as the other kind of half of the base and core of the bead, just to kind of make the Seashell Swirl go a little bit further. The press that I use to make most of my lentil beads is the Zuzi's SSL, or straight-sided lentil trio, which I believe you can still get from Zuzi's. The Valcox blend Martinique is mostly kind of a green base, but it's also got some transparent purple in it and some pinks and purples in opaque colors that really brings it alive, like it's very floral. So for the base glass, the very beginning base bead, I'm going to start with the Fetre number 031, which is a transparent light emerald green. So I'm just going to start by laying down kind of like the footprint for the bead in the shape of the lentil. When I say the shape of the lentil, I really mean like the width of how wide it's going to be, or maybe just like slightly, and try to go maybe like a millimeter on each side less than the size that the lentil is going to be. And what I can actually do is take this little kind of barrel shape and line it up right in the press, and then I can add a little bit more if I need to, just to get the right length. And this is something that does take some time, and just starting to get a sense of the size and shape that you need for a press. So yeah, next I'll be adding the Seashell Swirl glass and just building up the bead until it has the right volume to fill the press. And again, this is something that it takes a lot of time. You can see I start with the Seashell Swirl on one side, and then I'm going to fill in the other side with the transparent green again, because I want to have a bit of both showing. If I didn't, I could just put the Seashell Swirl on the outside and then have the core of the light green would just show through a little bit. But ultimately for lentil beads, you're usually trying to come up with kind of a football shape that you're gonna put into the press, and then the volume of how big your football needs to be. It just takes some practice. It actually takes a lot of practice. I find using presses, I thought using presses would be something that would make bead making so much faster and easier, and actually using presses is quite challenging because you have to get just the right amount of glass there. So I'm kind of holding it up to get a sense of the volume, and if I need to add any more. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to roll the bead into the Martinique frit. And then I'm just going to kind of melt all the frit in. I give a pretty generous covering of frit. And then, just melt it all in, and then it's going to get ready to go in the press. Now the thing, before I actually press it, I want to let the bead cool down just slightly. I don't want it to be soupy, liquidy. I think I have another tutorial just about lentil beads too. But yeah, you want to have it so there's almost like a bit of a skin starting to form again on the glass, but you don't want it to be too stiff either. So again, this just takes some time. When I'm ready, hold it as flat level on the press as I can, and line it up, and then press gently but firmly, trying not to break the bead release off. Could have a whole nother conversation about presses and bead release. So the key now is to just get this thing back into the torch and get some heat back on it, because the brass press sucks all the heat out of the glass pretty quickly. So I'll polish out the little marks that the press made, and also just reintroduce quite a lot of heat. And sometimes I will do a second pressing too, just to try and get a little bit sharper edges. Kind of depends what I'm going for. I don't usually worry about getting too sharp edges on my lentils, but yeah, you want to focus on making sure that you get especially the ends, right where the mandrel's going through. Those two ends are the places that are going to be getting the coolest, and if you're going to get cracks, it's probably because you didn't get enough heat into those spots. And you do need to flame polish, the press kind of leaves some marks on the glass that you need to flame polish. And the main key here is just that you want to do this in kind of the cooler part of the flame. You want to keep the bead as uniformly warm as you can, but you don't want to get it too hot because you don't want to like get it hot enough that it will distort the shape that the press has just created. Yeah, and that's basically it. And once you're all flame polished and you're good to go, then you're going to put it in the kiln, and that's the end. And you can see here's a bunch of these beads that I made, and this is just like fresh out of the kiln. I haven't cleaned them yet. They look really pretty in the light though. And I'm sure that there's some other glasses that you could use instead of Seashell Swirl. If you didn't have that, you might even be able to use, like, white would look good. Also opal yellow, Effetre 266 would be a good base for this glass. I just wouldn't use I wouldn't use ivory because that would probably get really muddy. But you can definitely experiment. The Martinique's just a very versatile frit, and it's a lot of fun to work with. Those purples and pinks are just gorgeous. Anyway, so that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that this was helpful for you. Bye-bye.
Two Glassy Ladies Productions.